Alright guys, your final day of Vietnam. First thing, Kent State, Jackson State, two major American colleges. A lot of protesting on all the college campuses. One big thing different about Kent and Jackson State is that it turned violent. National Guard was called out and they opened fire on the protesters. Here's a video. I will put this on the Google Classroom as well. I just want to start it.
Tear gas first started down the Commons, then the guard moved up on both sides of Taylor Hall, of course they came up the Commons.
So you can see National Guard called out, full military gear, in a line, marching across the open grass commons, and they were told to remove the students. It escalates, and the National Guard fires into the crowd of students, killing 4 of them. So that's, it really changes. People were peacefully protesting, and now some of those people are dead. While this is going on and the war's winding down, Henry Kissinger, this guy right here, he's working behind the lines to try to get a peace deal with the Vietnamese. And they don't want to come to the peace table because they're basically saying, communists are saying, we're winning the fight. America's losing support for the war. So in order to make them negotiate, we start Operation Rolling Thunder. What is Operation Rolling Thunder? It is a major increase in bombing in Vietnam. So Rolling Thunder starts 65. You have the B-52 dropping major bombs there. Here's what parts of Vietnam look like today with massive craters. Here are other jets dropping bombs. Look, it's just a ridiculous amount. And this map is really telling. If there's a red dot, that is a village that we bombed. And if there's a yellow dot, that is an area that we bombed. So you can see a huge amount of Vietnam was bombed in the Vietnam War. More bombs were dropped in Vietnam than World War II and Korea combined. So it really shows the increase in bombing. Also on that note, we have a short little video clip here.
65, the United States military, alongside the Republic of Vietnam Air Force, began Operation Rolling Thunder as part of the Vietnam War. The operation continued for 3.5 years, in which time hundreds of thousands of tons of American bombs were dropped on North Vietnam.
And this just goes more in depth on that operation. But the main part is we increase our bombing because we want to force the Vietnamese to come to the negotiation table. These are just some images of Kent State. Here's the 4 students that died. Here's people protesting. The cover of Life magazine. This is an interesting story. This lady on the ground ended up dying, and her roommate's watching it on the news. And she knew her roommate went down there, and she was worried that her roommate had gotten shot. And she sees that picture of that lady on the ground, and she says, my roommate's got the same hair, but that's not my roommate, because my roommate went down there wearing a white sweater, and that lady's wearing a red sweater. Well, her sweater was red because when she got shot, it bled into her sweater and changed the color to red. So that lady actually saw her roommate laying on the ground dead during the Kent State protesting. In the final years, we start pulling troops out. Every time, remember we talked about Vietnamization? Every time American troops pull back, the communist troops just come down from the north and take over that territory. So the writing's on the wall. As soon as we pull out, it's going to be a mad dash. And America finally decides the formal surrender, right? Well, that's the formal surrender of the South to the North. But when we start evacuating, it is pandemonium. It's a mass evacuation. This is a memorial to fallen soldiers, the helmet with the M16 and the boots. Here are people climbing up on the walls of the American embassy. Look at the line up to the ladder to get to the helicopter for people to get out. That's one helicopter at a time. The aircraft carriers are actually pushing helicopters off the flight deck into the ocean because it gets so full that people are literally sitting on the flight deck here. It's crazy. And we have that as well.
It was absolute chaos. All your regulations went out the door that day. There was tremendous confusion. It was like a tsunami of people.
That is probably the most iconic picture of the fall of Saigon, of the evacuation, of people coming up and getting on the helicopters. This video clip really explains it well. They're talking about people literally holding on to the skids of the helicopter, trying to get out of Vietnam. Because the Americans were taken out first. The last people here are Vietnamese people that helped Americans. And they know that if they stay, they're going to get outed to the communists and they're going to get killed. So they're doing everything they can to try to get out. Oh, we'll come back to that. Okay, so war's over. 58,000 plus dead, American dead. It cost $200 billion to fight the war. Things that changed, the War Power Act. The president cannot send troops anywhere in the world he wants for any unlimited amount of time. This means the president can send troops to, say, Afghanistan for up to 60 days. And then Congress has to give approval for those troops being there. 26th Amendment changes the voting age from 21 to 18. And the thought was, you can get drafted and you can fight and die for your country at the age of 18, but you can't vote for your president, you can't vote for the commander-in-chief of the military. That's not right. So they changed the voting age to 18. And then the Vietnam Wall. The Memorial Wall comes out in 1982. Here's a famous artist rendition of the guy up against the wall, and the shadow image is of his buddies back in Vietnam that didn't make it. And some of you might know that years ago here in Medford, we had the traveling wall. But here's another good video about the Vietnam Wall. The names of all those that died. More names get added every few years. More names get added because they find out remains are still being found occasionally in Vietnam. So more people get added. Another thing is the refugees, also called the boat people. And these are people, a lot of them were Hmong, who the Hmong people are the mountain people of Vietnam. And when America came in, we said, because the Hmong people are kind of an outcast, or I don't want to say outcast, but a minority group in Vietnam, and we told them, hey, if you help us fight the war, when the war is over, we'll give you a higher or more of a say in the government. And the Hmong people said, okay, that's great. What if you lose? And we said, well, we're not going to lose, but if we did, we know that you would get hunted down and wiped out by the communists, so we'll let you come to America. It's a good thing the Hmong people did that, otherwise they would have probably been taken out by the communists. So that's why, in America and Wisconsin specifically, we have Hmong people. These two graphs and charts show you the three states that have the highest Hmong population. California, because they came in from Vietnam to California, and then Minnesota and Wisconsin. California, because that's the main processing area where they came through. Why Minnesota and Wisconsin are second and third? Because of our churches. There was a lot of church groups, Methodist, Lutheran, Catholic church organizations that got together and said, we are going to foster a Hmong family. And some churches fostered numerous families. And they brought them to our state and got them set up with housing and trying to get them jobs and just include them in part of the community. If you look at the Wisconsin map, the darker green, the more Hmong population, you have Milwaukee has the highest amount, but then Marathon County as well. And Marathon County, due to churches bringing them in. Wausau, a major Hmong population. One of my friends when I lived in Wausau, he was actually born in a refugee camp. What happened was when the war was over, him and his mom and dad were fleeing Vietnam. And they were fleeing east across Cambodia and Laos, trying to get away, eventually to get to Thailand. And they could actually hear gunfire behind them from the communists following these people fleeing. And the story was his mom was very pregnant with him. And they had to swim across this river to get into the other country. And she didn't know if she could do it because she was pregnant. She's been tired from fleeing for days, the communist forces behind them. And eventually they were able to get across the river and get to Thailand. And he was born in a refugee camp in Thailand. before they could get on a boat and come to America. So he is very appreciative of being in America because some members of his family didn't make it. They were killed in Vietnam. So I always get asked why we have Hmong in Wisconsin. That's why. The Hmong people helped us in the Vietnam War. And when we pulled out, we weren't going to leave them to be killed by the communists. We invited them to America, and many of them accepted and fled Vietnam. All those videos I had on there are going to be on Google Classroom. This video, of course, will be on Google Classroom. So make sure you do that. Other than that, guys, we have your due dates still on the board. Your note cards due tomorrow. Remember, there is the reading packet. I'll leave that in the room. Please do not take that out of the room. If you need to come back in AP and read it, that is due on Friday. And tomorrow, Wednesday for you guys, you will have a quick review and then your Vietnam test. And then we're going to start something a little different, well, a little related but different on Thursday. Remember, you can pick your new note card topic after your test on Wednesday, and I'll have posters up and you can write those down. Be good for the sub. If I get a negative report about an individual being naughty, you will get a detention. So don't be that kid. See you guys on Wednesday.